Well, hi, and welcome back. Okay, in this lesson, I want to explain to you why a blockchain transaction moves directly from me to you and does not go via any sort of middleman, and as a result, is unstoppable. Blockchains can do this because they are decentralized, which is yet another buzzword that gets thrown around a lot, but often goes undefined or gets misunderstood. So, what is a decentralized system? Now, you most likely paid for this course with a credit card. You filled in a form on a website which sent a payment request to your bank, which in turn made a payment to another bank, which in turn made a payment to me. And thank you for that. Each bank operates their own transaction processing system, which process transactions and route money all around the world. The problem with this is that if either of the banks in question were offline at the time, then your payment could not have been completed. Also, your bank has the ability to block that payment or put other restrictions in place as they may deem appropriate. So if your bank didn't want you to send money to me for any reason, well, they simply wouldn't let you. This type of setup is called a centralized system, as it is a central controlling authority. A decentralized system does things differently. Instead of there being one central processing system between the sender and the receiver, there are multiple independent processing systems called nodes. The transfer moves between different nodes as it moves from sender to receiver. Which exact nodes are used for the transfer will be different from one transaction to the next, depending on whatever factors the system considers important at the time, such as data transfer speeds, for example. So identical transfers between you and me might be routed via a totally different series of nodes every time. One purpose of a decentralized system is to remove the single point of failure that a centralized system possesses. Because if one node stops working, all the others can ensure that transactions continue. Now, the internet uses a similar decentralized system to send data from one computer to another. This design was based on an early military network called the ARPANET. The ARPANET was designed to ensure that US military computer systems could continue to communicate even if multiple nodes had been destroyed during wartime. So to recap, a decentralized network is made up of multiple independent computer systems called nodes. You can remove a number of nodes from the network and keep the overall network running perfectly fine. But decentralization offers multiple other benefits as well as just single point of failure protection. Now, each node is an independent computer system, but they all need to run the same computer program to process transactions. In the case of cryptocurrencies, we run a blockchain program on every node. This combination of multiple independent nodes running the same blockchain computer program is what gives cryptocurrencies unique benefits over regular fiat currencies. To illustrate these benefits, let's look at the background of the very first cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was developed by Satoshi Nakamoto. All we know about Satoshi is the name. We don't know if he's actually a real person, or if that's an alias for someone, or even if it represents a group of people. People have obviously searched for Satoshi before now, and they did find a likely candidate by that name, living a modest life, who strenuously denies any connection with Bitcoin whatsoever. Now, Nakamoto was active in the early days of Bitcoin's development, but stopped responding to emails after a few years and has not been heard from since. For the purposes of this course, I will refer to Nakamoto as a he, although nobody really knows for sure. Nakamoto never met others in person and only ever corresponded with people via internet message boards and emails. He wrote the original Bitcoin blockchain software and released copies of that software to anyone who wanted it, so that Bitcoin could be developed by any computer programmer who wanted to help. This collaborative way of writing computer programs is called open sourcing. Today, Bitcoin's evolution is controlled by a committee of volunteer developers who set up a non-profit foundation that any computer programmer anywhere in the world could contribute to if they wish. As all Bitcoin's code is open source and available for anyone to review, then any mistakes or malicious changes to that code are prevented by a rigorous peer review process. So Bitcoin is not a company. The Bitcoin concept is not owned by anyone, and it's not controlled by any central controlling authority. And anyone can get involved in Bitcoin without permission from anybody else. When developing Bitcoin, Nakamoto did not actually invent the blockchain concept. That was developed by W. Scott Sornetta and Stuart Haber. They wanted to create a system where the timestamps of transactions could be immune to any form of change or tampering, which most computer systems at the time could not prevent. Nakamoto built on this unchangeable data idea when he developed Bitcoin. He devised a system whereby people could transfer sums of a new currency he invented called Bitcoin between each other using a blockchain-based computer program. Nakamoto wanted to create a new currency that was outside the control of any bank, government, or any central controlling authority. As discussed, he made the Bitcoin code open source so anyone could help develop it, and he designed the system so that anyone who wanted to could start their own Bitcoin node and help process Bitcoin transactions. You see, you or I could download the Bitcoin node software, install it on a computer, and begin processing Bitcoin transactions. We do not need any pre-approval or anyone's permission to do this. We just install the software on a computer, hook it up to the internet, and press the on switch. In return for us doing this, when we actually process transactions on our node, we get rewarded for that with all of the transaction fees from those transactions, and also a payment of newly created Bitcoins. So now that we've had this little history lesson, which is important to the details that follow, let's continue to discuss decentralization and learn why it ensures that a Bitcoin transaction is unstoppable. Well, in a nutshell, every node in the Bitcoin system is independently run by an anonymous person who could be located anywhere in the world. As such, no single government could shut down all the nodes from operation. They could try to shut down the nodes operating in their country, but that would be pointless, as all the other worldwide nodes would just keep on running and be available for you and I to access via the internet. If a government, or anyone, wanted to stop my transaction from taking place, they would have to shut down every single Bitcoin node worldwide, which of course they can't. They could try to shut down the ones in their country, assuming they could find them, but as discussed, it would be pointless as the network would just keep on running. Now, at this time, there are over 15,000 nodes in operation that we know of, and the reality is there will be many more. For our transaction to be considered unstoppable, we only need 2 of those nodes to be running. So for that reason and that reason alone, Bitcoin transactions are unstoppable. Nobody can stop me transferring Bitcoin to you. Oh, one more thing about Bitcoins. Bitcoins, like most other cryptocurrencies, are divisible into smaller parts. Just like the dollar is comprised of 100 cents, Bitcoin also has subunits of value. However, unlike the dollar, which has 100 subunits, 2 decimal places, a Bitcoin has 8 decimals. Therefore, I can send you this sum of Bitcoin shown on the screen here, if I wished. At today's prices, that is about 0.000552 cents, or approximately 5.5 ten-thousandths of 1 cent. The smallest subunit of Bitcoin, shown here, is known as a sat, which of course is named after Satoshi Nakamoto. So this is the quick, high-level overview of how the Bitcoin network runs. In the next lesson, we're going to lift the lid on this network and get more familiar with exactly how the network is able to do what it does. Until then, thank you very much for your time. As always, if anything in this lesson was unclear to you, then please re-watch the lesson again and it should make a lot more sense. Once you're ready, I will see you in the next lesson where we discuss the Bitcoin network. Till then, thank you very much for your time.